Alright, so we're back now for training log number 27, and in terms of volume, I'm pretty sure this will be the biggest week of training I've ever done, and it starts out with a 1 hour easy spin. Now that's all I did on the Monday, just because that's the day I was traveling back from my weekend away, but I was pretty determined to make up for the weekend that I had off by adding in some extra volume this week. Tuesday lunch, just adding in some more aerobic volume, and I made this one 3 by 15 minutes at 220 watts. So right on that upper aerobic limit for me.
I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes.
After the hour on the bike, we had a track session that afternoon, which was just 4 by 1 mile with 90 seconds recovery between each.
With flowers and my love hope never to come back.
So trying to keep those paces a little under 6 minutes per mile. Wednesday morning starts out now with a real endurance swim, which was 6.7 kilometers total.
Every day I look inside myself and see my heart is black. I see my red door, I must have it painted black.
Wednesday lunch, just a 30-minute easy recovery run on the treadmill. And we finish out Wednesday now with a 2 hour bike session, which was 4 by 15 minutes at 250 watts with a cadence of 60 RPM. So a real strength endurance session there to finish out a 4.5 hour day. Thursday morning just starts out with a real easy 90-minute aerobic ride, averaging 177 watts. And the only other session on Wednesday was just an hour 20 run, and that run just included 4 1 mile efforts. Friday morning now just starts out with a 5 kilometer swim. We finish out Friday with a 2 hour ride, which was just some Ironman over-unders. So spending 3 minutes above and 3 minutes below Ironman power, going back and forth. Alright, so that takes us to the weekend now, and we started out just with a 6 hour long ride. So we've built the long rides back up to 6 hours because we are getting pretty specific for Ironman training at the moment. And one thing I think I fell short on in my last Ironman prep was consistency of my long rides. I mean, my long runs were super consistent. Almost every week I was hitting 32 kilometers, but I was having a lot of issues consistently riding 6 hours every Saturday. And that's one thing I really want to improve on during this Ironman prep. I really want to focus on improving the consistency of that long ride, because I think that's something that I respond to quite well, just based off how I performed in the marathon in my last Ironman, where I felt really comfortable the whole way through, but the bike I kind of struggled. Look, I kind of figure if I can increase the consistency of that long ride, then maybe I'll have a better performance in the Ironman bike leg. So really moderate throughout, 6 hours, averaging 180-ish watts, 137 beats per minute, and I was strictly in the TT position that entire time. It was a dead flat route, barely any cards, and just a couple points to turn around. So almost the entire 6 hours I spent in that TT position because I really struggled to hold that position during my last Ironman race, and that let me down a lot. So only holding 180 watts with no aero wheels, no aero kit, no aero helmet, I was still able to ride at about 31 kilometers an hour. So good speed, and that's just from staying strictly in that aero position. Granted, the road was totally flat. Off the bike, just into a 20-minute easy run. I was told to treat this as the cool down for the workout, so that was basically 20 minutes, 5:09 per kilometer, so 4 kilometers of running. So we finish out Saturday just with a 45-minute gym session. The gym was shut, unfortunately, because the ride was so long, but I just did that at home with some basic weights. And that takes us to Sunday now, last session of the week. As always, the Sunday long run, and as always, doing that one on a nice hilly route and keeping it all super moderate. So 5:19 per kilometer, 28 kilometers, 2.5 hours, and that was it for the week. So looking at the totals now, about 15 kilometers or so in the pool, 448 kilometers on the bike, and 70 kilometers of running, which takes us to 24 hours and 31 minutes if you include that strength session that I did. And really, if you look at the volume for this week, a lot of it is aerobic. I mean, Tuesday morning, I'll just run through it really quickly here. Monday, aerobic ride. Tuesday morning, aerobic swim. Aerobic ride, Tuesday lunch. A threshold run, Tuesday afternoon. So we've only got one threshold session so far. An aerobic run on Wednesday, a long aerobic swim on Wednesday, and then some strength endurance stuff on Wednesday on the bike. Thursday, getting a few efforts done in the run, but then an aerobic ride. Friday, an aerobic swim. Friday afternoon, another aerobic ride. Saturday, a long aerobic ride, and then an aerobic run, and then a strength session. And Sunday, a long aerobic run. So you see a lot of the volume there is all moderate to easy, just building a good aerobic base, and that's really what I'm focusing on at the moment. And I think that's why I'm able to hit 24 hours of training in the week and still feel fairly fresh as I end it. So I'm pretty happy to put together a week like this. I think it's what's most effective for me at the moment. Granted, there are still a few threshold sessions in there, mainly on the run and the ride, but a lot of that volume, especially on the bike, coming in at that real aerobic, moderate, LT1, zone 2, whatever you want to call it, kind of area. And hopefully if I can stay consistent with this week on week, that's where I'm going to notice the biggest improvements.